Okay. All right. We'll kick off, everybody. We'll join us as we go. Oh, there's Patrick Gall. Check out the cool background, and Patrick's Godzilla taking over the town. Um, Patrick, I just skimmed through your video before, and I watched the beginning, and the Eye of the Tiger starts playing. It's like dun 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 dun, and the lights are going. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to get into this. But that was cool, man. That was funny.
Cool.
So everybody, you'll be seeing that soon. So anyway, today's topic is about us sticking to the guidelines of the training, completing the training, um, becoming loan brokers, um, and carrying out the proper workflow. Unfortunately, and we see this with our as a trending topic with our new affiliates. You come in, you do a little bit of the training, you get your funnel set up, your email blast software, you get used to collecting an email address and a phone number, and you stop. You get it, you submit it, and then you sit back and you wait. Where's my money? Right? What's going on with my deal? When's it gonna fund? That's not being a broker. That's just collecting an email address and a phone number and then hoping that it turns into money, and furthermore expecting that it turns into money. Now, let's say that's your expectation here at Ion. Let's say that you came here and that's all you really want to do and you want to sit back or whatever. The goal for you is to become a loan broker. Let's say it's a year from now, whatever, you leave Ion. You're on your own. You're like, okay, now I'm going to do this for myself, right? You get signed up with one or two lenders. You remember what you learned at Ion, the little bit you paid attention to, and now you decide, okay, I got it. Let's go. You do it for a week, 2 weeks. You gather some phone numbers, some email addresses. You say, hey, fill out my application. The application comes in. You send it right to the lender, and you kick back. You put your feet up, and you start looking online about what you're going to buy that month from Amazon, right? Because you got this money coming, and it doesn't work, and you get frustrated. And then you get tired of spinning your wheels and chasing these leads because these leads, quote unquote, don't work. And you're frustrated. So now you want to go and buy leads because you don't want to have to spend time doing that. And then those leads, quote unquote, don't work. And before you know it, you're out of time, you're out of money, loan brokering, quote unquote, doesn't work, and you're unhappy. And it's because it's not the fault of the industry. It's not a poor industry. It's not a poor quality of lead. It's you didn't do the work. You didn't complete the training. You didn't become a loan broker, and you never even began to dig into what really makes a loan broker in the first place. Okay, when I say you, I mean the general you. And every one of us, right, have a little bit that we're not doing right in this regard, or a lot of it, right? But we need to be, we need to look in the mirror here and make sure that we're completing the training, that we're going through all these tasks. How do we know this is the case? How do we know this is the case? Well, to begin with, there's plenty of trainings in the Ion Success Tool that go over follow-up, that go over the math involved with calculation of a basic fix and flip, right? Or a cash advance or whatever. And yet we have people who have false expectations. So you submit an application and you say, all right, so can we help this client out? Of course, if this client wants $600,000 and they only have 10 grand in liquidity, they don't have enough skin in the game to be able to get funding for the purchase and the rehab. You should know that if you're completing the training. If you're coming to us and saying, I can't get in touch with anybody, and it's been a couple weeks or a few weeks or whatever, or even a month, and nobody's really biting, nobody really wants money, and I'm saying on my emails, I only got 2 responses the other day. You should be collecting names. Anybody who's been here months, you should have thousands of people who are interested in funding that you should be touching every so often and going back to through your email campaign. You should have large client lists of people, and every day you do a find function for today's date and know what your scheduled calls are for the day. You should never have an issue talking to people. There should be too many people to talk to. But when we get this feedback from you, what it tells us is you're not completing the training. What it tells us is you're not using your client lists and trackers. What it tells us is you're not doing your follow-ups. What it tells us is you're not doing your training. What it tells us is you're not taking a look at your basic mathematics formulas and how to calculate standard loans. You're not doing any of these things. You're just setting up your email software, you're collecting email addresses, you're sending that into Ion, and then the hopes that that's going to turn into money for you. And then you're getting frustrated when that doesn't happen. And that's just, I mean, what's the definition of insanity, right? To keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. That's not going to result in money. That's not how this business works. Right? So a little bit of tough love there, but it's important for all of you to understand this, because your money's worth is you becoming a loan broker, you learning how to do this stuff on your own. And then one day, start up your own brokerage, whether you're an independent, you have your own thing, maybe you even want to have a franchise of Ion, whatever it is, and you can make a lot more money and you control your destiny. But if you don't do these things, I promise you're not going to make money. You're not going to be a loan broker. You're not. And so it comes down to what we put into it, right? We tell our kids every day, if we're going to give them a college tuition, right? Or we put them in school, through school, and they have to study for their tests, and they have to work hard, and they have to put something into it. And what they put into it is what they get out of it. And all the stuff that we say that sounds good, we have to live our lives the same way. And only if we do that are we going to succeed. Very, very important. So anyway, leadership team, you guys want to elaborate further here?
Guys, if y'all saw my post this morning, I told y'all you can't be who you want to be without changing who you are. That's a big part of it. You need to realize that there's a lot that goes into this, and I love Gavin's phrase, you don't know what you don't know. And there's a lot to learn, but you have to learn it. That's just the way it is. Every successful loan broker has the same basic fundamentals down, period. It's no different across the board. And that's what we're teaching here. We're teaching you the basics, and we're offering a chance at some far more advanced training that will take you even further down the pipeline and down the rabbit hole to find even more opportunity later on. So just dig in, make the commitment, and realize that who you are today is going to change as you go through this program, period. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what to tell you other than you missed something along the way. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Certainly makes sense to me, Gerald.
Yeah, I mean, just realistically, it's momentum, ladies and gentlemen. I understand we're all excited about the potential. The potential is there for the work, but it literally is a cumulative effect. It's not, oh well, I went in and we're actually poof. I'm in the green. It does take time, a little trial and error. Each part of it is a building block on the other. So giving yourself the patience, giving yourself the room to get to that next level. I think Gavin did a while back about that mindset that, understanding that you have options. You could fall into negativity and be right back to where you were before, or you can push through and achieve the goals that are in front of you. So, we don't win a championship on one game. We win a championship by playing a lot of games, and there's wins and losses. But at the end of the day, we need more wins and losses. But understand that there's a process. You got to go from A to Z, and prepare yourself that way. I mean, we're all anticipating, doing great things, but understand it's going to take a step. It's going to build momentum, and literally, once you start getting that momentum, once you start building your pipeline, and you have numerous projects that are in the works, a lot of this frustration will kind of disappear because you'll have that pipeline. You'll kind of see things happening, but a lot of times you have to see it in advance before it's even there. You have to have faith in yourself, have faith in your process that, I'm going to do the things consistently and build that pipeline and get that snowball moving and let it build momentum. So don't lose out on or get discouraged. Understand it takes a little bit of time to build momentum.
Absolutely. Well said, Christopher. Building up that client list, that book of business. I mean, very quickly, you should have a ton of names in that list. Very quickly, you should have a ton of appointments. Every time you talk to a person, by the time you're done talking to them, when's our next call? When should I call you again? When are you available? Making sure you update the notes in that line of your client list so that you know to call them at that date. And if you do that with every person you talk to, before you know it, you have tons of scheduled calls with interested people who have cash and are qualified and want money. And it's just a matter of whether or not you're going to keep up with those people. And then when the time comes, you're going to be the one they go through to get funding. But that doesn't happen if every day you're just chasing your tail, getting new email addresses, getting them here. I understand you want to call my team leader and fill out the application next. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again. That's not loan brokering. It's not even proper qualification. You're just marketing to anyone without actually understanding if they're worth your time in the first place. And so it's very, very important stuff. Now, another topic, HubSpot. Our deals inside of HubSpot. We need our notes properly filled out. So if Patrick Gall is my client, right? And I talk to Patrick about a deal, and Patrick and I have a great conversation, and it's a 30-minute call, and Patrick's giving me all the subtle details of the deal. Maybe he's got 3 or 4 deals on the table, right? And he wants X and Y, and he's got this much liquidity, and he had this many exits in the year, but there's a little bit of an issue here. A couple of those properties are rural, right? And it just so happens that he wasn't happy with the 11% he got last time or whatever it was. That's detailed information. And if Christopher Van Buren is my team leader, right, and I get that information in, and then I just say, okay, I understand, Patrick, you have some questions. I'm going to set you up with Christopher Van Buren for a phone call. And I don't tell Christopher any of that. Or Patrick Gall decides to expedite the journey here and he fills out the application right away, gets it into the system. And I don't go into HubSpot and type in the notes, my conversation with him. I'm setting Christopher up for a fall. Christopher's going to go in and start the conversation over, likely piss off the client, Patrick, because we already had this conversation. Who the hell are these guys? What am I talking to these guys for? They don't even know. They're not worthy of me. I'm a high prospect. I'm a big-time client. I do millions of dollars in investments every year, and I'm having, every time I talk to these guys, start over again, right? I'm not working with these guys. I want to work with somebody who gets me. I want to work with somebody where we're moving forward every time we talk. Right? It's just, maybe we got a little bit further, right? Maybe we got a little bit further, and we're in doc collection, right? And so I reach out to Patrick about a specific document. Patrick gives me that document. I upload that document into HubSpot, but I don't put into the notes that spoke with client provided X, Y, and Z documents. Christopher, we're ready to submit to lender, whatever it is. Christopher misses that document for 2 weeks. We don't even know that it came in, and he's waiting for Patrick for the affiliate, that's me, right, to speak with the client, right? And our wheels start spinning. We get all crossed and mixed up. There's delay. Absolutely, well said, David. Patrick, did you have something to add there?
Yeah. And also too, this goes to this talks to another level. And maybe it might be a good topic for later on down the road, but talking about notes and updating, deal specific notes, absolutely. But also too, remember that, you're talking to people and all right, so you might talk to them again next week. If you're talking to a lot of people, you're not going to remember the conversation. You're not going to remember details. Take notes about other things outside of the deal as well. I mean, you find out the guy likes clowns, right? Make a note of it, man. And put that in the CRM, because here's what will happen. An account executive will pick up the phone and talk to the client, and he'll see a note in there that, this guy likes clowns, or whatever, and maybe he'll mention it. And, that's going to send a message to the client that not only, are we observant and we pay attention to detail, but we're cohesive as a team, right? And, I'll tell you what, it goes a long way when you pick up the phone and talk to someone 3 months later, and you make a mention about something that you talked about 3 months ago. 3 months is a long time in the business world, a long time. And when you bring up something that, is personal to them, they're gonna take note of that, man, because that doesn't happen a lot in this business.
It's true. It's very, very, very true. You have to build rapport with the client, right? And you have to have some way for them to remember you. Otherwise, you just sound like every other loan broker. I mean, anybody who's worked in the cash advance space knows that. I mean, they forget you as soon as you hang up the phone. You have to constantly remind them who you are. And so, what better way than to build rapport, find commonality, find common interests, or even just talk more about their interests? I mean, what do you know? I just so happen to be interested in the exact thing the client's interested in. What do you know? My favorite sports team and favorite superstar athlete happens to be the same one that the client's in. You know what I mean? You have to be careful there that you don't mirror too much, because then you sound like a fake, right? But the point is, you need to get along with them. It's a great point, Patrick, right? And so, how are you building rapport with your clients? How are you memorable? And so, anyway, another analogy that stuck out in my mind that you should consider is, if this is medical school, right? And you're learning how to do proper procedures, right? Well, you don't stop halfway through the course because you've decided you've learned enough and then do open heart surgery on somebody. And then you get to the halfway point, you're like, I will just sew it up and see how it goes. It's the same thing here with broking. If you're not following the training all the way through, if you're not graduating to the advanced level, if you're not learning how to do these things, you're never going to succeed. It's just the reality of the situation. You don't understand the whole of it. You don't have the experience, the knowledge accrued in order to make good decisions, in order to really help your clients understand their needs. You may think you understand their needs based on a little bit of information that you've gathered, based on your snapshot of the marketplace that you understand. You may think it's that simple, and it's not. When in reality, it takes a lot of experience to be able to see the whole playing field, and then be able to make good decisions and good calls. And this is very important stuff and needed in order to succeed in this marketplace and compete and consistently fund deals and maintain a client list of healthy clients that rarely work with you. And so anyway, we're hoping that these things are resonating with you guys, because every so often we have to do this. It's just the nature of the program, and we have new blood come in. But it's also the old that have been here a while that still make mistakes like this. I mean, when I can't tell you how many times I talk to an affiliate and they have questions, there's a bit of frustration or whatever, and then I get the candid response, and I appreciate the honesty where they say, well, technically I haven't completed the training. I haven't watched that video yet. And then it's like, come on, you gotta do the work. Right? So important stuff here. Important stuff. David, do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I got 2 points actually. As far as the HubSpot goes, let's say you talk to a client and you get them interested. You can even put a contact in there. You can put a note in there. But if you don't keep up with that contact and it goes 2 months and all of a sudden somebody else does 1 month?
1 month.
1 month. If somebody else does their lead generation like they're supposed to do, they overlap, they can come in, they're going to steal your client. And if there's no notes or updates from you, how are we supposed to know that you ever got in contact with them?
That's the policy right there. It's 1 month.
Yeah.
You talk to a client, a month goes by, there's no update to the file in HubSpot. It's open for grabs, anybody's deal, right? If,
that's right.
That's my client. That's my client. No, it's not your client. And that's the way it goes here. That's the way it would go at any other firm you would work at. It's it's a very different story in the actual workforce in this industry. We are creating a bit of monsters here with our very generous commission splits and what have you. It's important everybody stay on top of this stuff. So great point, David.
Yeah, and then my other point, and this kind of goes off of what both you and Christopher were saying, no team or sports or anything like that, they don't get to a championship by doing one play. You're not just going to sit there and do, one kind of shot and, keep making it every single time. And you're not going to create a championship by doing just that. You're not going to create a good, solid loan brokerage by doing just your email campaign. It's just not going to happen. Absolutely. And you've got to do the email campaign. You've got to do the LinkedIn connection request. You've got to do some calling. You've got to, whatever you can do, get out there and do it.
And that's the tip of the iceberg, right, David? I mean, that's just the tip. That's just outreach. That's not even broking. That's marketing.
Yeah. That's just doing your lead generation.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
Oh my
If you're
God!
gonna-
You mean you would talk to people?
Wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. Yeah, I mean, if you want to pigeonhole yourself into one facet of being able to do this business, don't expect to be able to make a huge living off of it, and don't expect to be able to retire off your job and, live like you're a king or anything like that. Expect that you're going to make a mediocre income, probably like you do at your job, and that's what it's going to be. If you're just going to be doing a little bit, that's what it is. You're just going to get a little bit.
Tony Robbins talks about this, and I actually included this clip at the end of that training video, Ryan, and it's a great piece. But the bottom line is resourcefulness is your greatest resource. Too often people are quick to blame a system, a program, a course, a platform, a process for their lack of results, when in fact it wasn't any of the above. It was their own lack of resourcefulness. So big key point there, David. Great stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Why don't we use the opportunity to remind everybody, Patrick, of your Discovery Call presentation, the series that we're coming out with, that we're adding it to the training. It might be a good idea to kind of give everyone an inkling of what's coming, and a reminder for those of them that did see the presentation. What was it, a month ago? Patrick, there we go.
So we're starting a training series. I think I called it skill sets for success. And the first module is I guess it's going to be put up today. Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, I should have it up today. Yeah.
Okay, either that, or I can actually post it in the private Facebook group as well. But folks, what these are is just mini modules, man. And this particular one is it piggybacks a coaching call that we had, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. My apologies for the delay in getting this thing out, but goes into a little bit more detail in this particular case about the discovery call. And this is the call of which you're going to be making for the first time to your client that has responded to an email, a LinkedIn message, or what have you, and you're about to take the conversation and the relationship offline. So we're going to be throwing out tidbits like this here and there. It's just in an effort to arm you with more tools and more skills to increase your earning potential.
Indeed.
So look for that in the near future.
Terrific. Yes, absolutely. We'll get that in the Ion Success tool later today. I'll do a post just to notify you all that it's there and where it is, and it'll say new and be all flashy, so you'll be able to spot it right away in the real estate basic training. Terrific.
And if you're a little sleepy in the beginning of this video, that's quite all right. I'll wake you up, right, Ryan?
Absolutely. You will be woken up within the first 5 seconds of the video. Great content coming. Our training is always expansive, and we're continuously adding to it. But we can provide all the training in the world. At the end of the day, you've got to engage with it. You've got to watch the material. You've got to absorb that material. You have to put the training into effect in your day-to-day operation, your outreach, even if it's just an hour a day. You need that daily approach, right, to get started. And you can convert your time to it. But there's a journey here. It's not just sitting back and collecting email addresses and waiting for your team leader to do all the work. That's not it. You can do that. You paid us. You can make a few commissions. That's all it'll ever be. And then you'll burn out because you're tired of collecting email addresses. You'll never actually move forward. But if you have an appetite for this stuff, if you follow the course we put in front of you, you will succeed, and you will make good money, and you will have a skill set to where you can develop your own business. And I mean, check out Patrick Gall sitting there. He's working from home. He bought himself a brand new, beautiful computer. He's got really cool background going on. He's hanging out. He's doing his thing. That's his day. He just works from home. He doesn't have a boss breathing down his neck. He doesn't have to be up early in the morning and be at the office at 8 a.m. and then have the commute on the way home, and none of that. That's what we're offering all of you. The ability to develop a lifestyle to where you can live the life you want to live. you know, and it's a real thing, but you got to put in the time. You have to put in the work. You have to engage with the material, and you have to advance to the next level. We've had advanced training out for how long now? Very few of you are engaged with the advanced training. Why? There's higher incentives for earnings, next level education. It's the next step.
2x the earnings at that level.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's a lot that you haven't considered. And then even if you get bored of that, you could have a franchise of Ion and run your own program. You could start up your own brokerage. You can scale beyond that. I mean, that we all go on YouTube and we see, you know, a guy on a beach, right, or a girl on a beach, and they're talking about the lifestyle. And sometimes it's fake, right? He's standing in front of the rented Ferrari that's not really his. He's at the Airbnb and pretends that's his home or whatever it is. And we know we can spot a fake when we see it. But there are people out there that live a nice lifestyle and they've created it themselves and they're their own boss. And we talk to them every day. A lot of them are called real estate investors and they have big portfolios. You know, but there's a lot of ways to make money, a lot of ways to live the lifestyle you want. You know, look at Sebastian Tafreshi. Sebastian, he's going back and forth between Miami. He's got his laptop on the beach. He's actually living that lifestyle. You know, that can be you. You just have to dig in. You know, and so anyway, a lot of good topics here, a lot of iteration on these points. Is this resonating with you guys? You know, I mean, does anybody have any questions here? Is anybody motivated? We'd love to hear from you.
Crickets, come on, man. We got 20 people on this call. Somebody.
Since nobody else is speaking up, I'll say I'm going to share a picture. I just went through. I found my planner from last year. Literally a year. It's been almost a year since I've been with Gavin, and I'm gonna post it because I have little sticky notes or sticky tabs in there of everything I was doing. And I'll show everybody, like, yeah, I started with just doing friend requests because that's what I could do. But I'm going to post that. And Patrick, did you upgrade the Fisher Price?
I went from the Millennial Falcon to the USS Enterprise.
Nice.
That's cool, man. But yes, we want to hear from you guys. You know, I mean, if this was me, I mean, I'd be running my mouth every 5 seconds with a million questions. We want to hear from you. You know, I mean, does this stuff resonate with you? You have anything to say, people?
It definitely resonates with me, Ryan. I know you and I have spoken multiple times, and we're working on some things together. The biggest thing is that I look at Ion as not a loan brokering partner, but a business opportunity. And that's the way to look at it, as you just mentioned, you know, trying to tie it in, maybe other things I might be doing. You know, as you guys know, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a loan broker, and I'm a part owner of a, Guest Experiences virtual events company, so, tie them all together. I've had 3 calls over the past week with big wholesaling companies, and we're all conditioned to see wholesalers as individuals, but there are actual companies out there that employ teams and whatnot to do this. And they are excited about the potential of adding to their income stream by working with us. And that's kind of what Chris and I are working on right now.
Wonderful. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, absolutely. Dave is diving in. He is, we have weekly meetings of talking about what else he can do to further scale his business. That's what it takes. Levi Blum is another one who, if we've had multiple meetings, is always trying to figure out a way to improve the opportunity for himself, to take on more. What else can he do? He wants to know where he's falling short, how we can improve. That's what it takes, people. Levi, did you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely. I said, number one, I agree with you. I think it was you or Paul. Regarding following up, it's very important because when you speak to somebody over the phone, over LinkedIn, the person tells you can qualify him. If you don't put that as a potential client for 6 months, 3 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, you're wasting your time. So anybody talk to on the phone, they have experience and they actually have decent credit score and they have liquidity available, they will become eventually a potential client. So that's what the first thing I did when I joined Ion is basically sign up for the strict CRM. So every day I've got 10 people that I need to follow up with, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a email. So it keeps me busy. As you mentioned, I have now 7,000 email addresses. I can just keep on adding more email addresses, but what do I do with 15,000 email addresses if I don't get any deals?
Right.
So, I'm trying to work. I'm trying basically to work whatever I have right now. And I keep on adding slowly but surely, but I don't spend every single day putting 200 new names to my list. I do once a week, twice a week, because now I'm busy with other things as well.
Indeed. Well said,
And,
Levi.
this
Good
morning,
stuff,
for example,
Levi.
this morning I, just want to have an account with Instagram. I'm still trying to work it out. I connected with, real estate investors, send those people a private message. It's called DM on Instagram, and see if I'll be able to strike some interest from Instagram as well as LinkedIn and Facebook. So as you mentioned, Ryan, I'm always looking for ways to find investors. And luckily, this morning I spoke to 2 people that are already putting in an application on the system.
Terrific.
But I'm not going to sit down and go to sleep now at 12:30 New York time, because I got 2 people put an application, because I know that for an application to turn into something that gets funded and I make a commission, there's a lot of things that may happen between that. It's not going to work out, or it's going to take a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on deals with Sebastian for sometime for the past 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. He's still alive, but we have to work on that. It takes a long time to close something sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you get to go to bed at 12 o'clock. That's banker's hours, man.
No, I start 8:30 till 4:30 nonstop. I take a 10-minute break for lunch. This is my full-time job, and then I go back at night for 2 hours. Sometimes I work during the weekend as well. Like Sunday, I spend 4 or 5 hours just connecting with people on LinkedIn, sending them messages, and I know what it takes. I've been in sales for many years, not in the loan business, but I know that you got to keep on working. You can't just relax, because then it's going to hurt you down the line. So
Absolutely.
I'm here to succeed.
Absolutely.
The other thing
Absolutely.
I'll mention is, referrals. Referrals is something that every good salesman should always ask for. As I've started to build up my reputation for being a loan broker with Ion, ask people all the time for a referral. People that are happy with you and working with you, or people that might not be working with you for a variety of reasons, but still appreciate you as a professional. That could be, investors you're trying to broker to. That could be real estate agents talk to. That's the other way to kind of expand your business. The more eyes and ears on the street you have about your business, your partners, and referrals, the better.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And Dave, I'll be reaching out to you here in the next day or so. I wanted to see if I can't call out somebody here. Miguel Ayom. You there?
Hey, how you doing? I had my hand raised. Sorry. How you guys
That's
doing?
okay. Good
Hey,
to see
Miguel.
you. Good to see you on the inside, man. How you fitting? How you moving around? How you making out?
Fantastic. It's been a little slow just getting started, but I think I'm going to hit the ground running here soon once I actually got my duck soup set up this weekend. LinkedIn showed some really good promise for me this Sunday. Already got 3 appointments set up for this week. I've been using that free list for email campaigns. Haven't had a big response from that as far as clients are concerned. But I'm sure it'll happen eventually. So I just keep plugging away with my 25 or 50 of those a day. And then with my Facebook today, I finally figured out how. I went over the training again and finally figured out, okay, I wasn't requesting to get into groups. So I was just going and just finding random names. I was like, hey, I don't find any emails, but now that I'm in groups, I can find the emails. So it makes sense now. So I'm putting my list together right now for my Facebook campaigns as well. Plus, I've been reading up on my scripts. I'm ready for calls. I want to go through these qualifying process because my time is valuable. Ryan talked to me last week. I submitted a lead. It was a horrible lead. Literally. $20,000. I think $15,000. I think was they were asking for with horrible credit. My time's valuable, so I need to start finding people that are better qualified. As far as business is concerned, I'm moving into the realty investment side. So I started learning that side of the equation, started changing around my Facebook and LinkedIn to capture those types of clients because I believe that's where the money's at.
Indeed. There's a list,
Good stuff.
Miguel, there's a list of common industries that you want to target in the training. So definitely take a look at that as well.
Ryan, I appreciate you bringing that up. I am using that now.
Great.
Today, I went to the free lists and I put in dentist for Arizona. And then for the week, I'll do a different state and grab my 25 for each state during the 5 days for that free list for business side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, Miguel, and thanks for that bits of information. I appreciate it. Guys, Miguel came in here. Yes, Wendy, in the business training, there's a list of common industries that you want to target for business funding. But Miguel came into this thing like a bat out of hell. He really did. You could tell he had a little bit of experience under his belt and he wanted to get something out of it and he just dove in. But he made a common mistake that so many make. And that is he just immediately started trying to talk to clients and get leads in and start without going through the training. And so what right away, and to Miguel's point, right, we had a client who wasn't really a good lead. But in the moment, right, we're trying to help him and this guy needs money and what can we do? And that's the wrong way to go about it. And so Miguel, David, and I sat down and had a conversation. We pulled out our calculators and we started playing around with the numbers a little bit. And quickly, I was able to explain and show how there's no affordability of a payment schedule for this person, right? And I won't take you through all of it and go through the calculator. Maybe next week we can do some calculations, everybody, on the Monday coaching call. But you have to be, and especially with business funding, you have to be able to talk live to a person, get numbers from them, punch a calculator, do it really fast. Not only is it impressive to the client, not only can you win them over by doing that. For example, you can double their term, lower their payment. That's why they should work with you, right? If you're working with me, it's half as expensive. You get double the term, blah, blah, blah. We'll dive into that a little bit next week. But it's important to understand right out of the gate whether or not there's a deal on the table, whether or not their expectations are realistic. Because and we'll talk about real estate investors for a second, right? If we have a real estate investor who wants $1 million but has 10 grand in their pocket, we know that they don't have enough cash. They don't have the liquidity to be able to have skin in the game. So right there, the call should die. Instead, you talk to them for another 20 minutes. You let them think that, oh yeah, I can help them, all because they said $1 million to you, and you're all excited. Next thing you know, you're breathing down Christopher Van Buren's neck. Christopher, are we going to fund this guy? This is important. It's $1 million deal. We got to get this going. It's not $1 million deal. That person's never going to get $1 million. I can't tell you how many applicants I've had in the business funding sector where they want 500,000, $1 million, 5 million, 3 million, and oh, it's all exciting. And the person doesn't have a dime, not a penny. They don't even own a business. They just want some millionaire to give them millions of dollars so they can start up their brilliant idea that they thought of. I mean, and you're over there thinking it's a deal. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
No, I was just going to say, if I had $500 for every $1 million deal that I worked, I'd be up there with Warren Buffett right now.
Mm-hmm. It's very true.
Also, when you don't qualify, you get your head into oh, it's $1 million deal. We got to get them funded. When it comes out that you didn't qualify them properly and it's not a real deal, then you complain and say it doesn't work.
Yep, it's true. It's true. And so this is a tough love session, everybody. We're trying to help you get on the track to success, and tough love comes with it. Wendy says she had one of those when she got started. Yeah, it's very common. It's very common, these types, but these are the important, I forget who said it, but they said, maybe it was Patrick. I can't remember who said it, but we have the scars to prove it, right? We've been through this stuff before. We have the scars to prove it. And so you don't have to make these mistakes. You don't have to make the mistakes that we've made. If you just listen to us, you hear what we're saying, you can expedite your journey to success, because we've been through that. We're trying to help you understand these things so you can get ahead of that. But you have to listen. You have to engage. You have to follow the training. You have to pay attention when we talk about these things, because otherwise you're going to spin your wheels the same way we did. We don't want you to do that. We want you to get right past that right away, but you can't be a full glass. You have to, even if you have experience, you have to start from the beginning, from scratch. Because if what you learned in the past was working for you, let's be honest, you wouldn't be here at ION, right? And so it's important that we have a clean slate, that we have an appetite for new information, that we improve our skill set. Sometimes we break our foundation we lay it down again, and then we build, but if you think you're just gonna kind of keep doing things the way you used to, again, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So that's really all I can think of on this topic, guys. Anybody have anything else they wanted to add? Anyone have any questions on these topics?
Yeah, just folks, when you hear big numbers coming out of the other end of the phone, you just have to try to remain as unemotional as you possibly can. It's just binary. They're just ones and zeros. It's all it is, and it doesn't mean a damn thing until the day it goes to closing.
Very true. Very true. And that's a seasoned broker. That's somebody who's been through it before. They can tell you what it sounds like, what the routine's like, how it's going to go, what the commonalities are, right? And so you got to listen. You have to listen to that, right? So don't get excited when you talk to people. Stay reserved. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? You have to stick to what we're teaching you. And the second you start talking to somebody, you can't let that throw you for a loop, right? So any questions? Now's the time. Ask your questions, please.
Hey, it's Miguel. I got a quick question.
Yeah. Hey, Miguel.
Now, do you guys recommend using because I know that in the training it specifically says for Google, which is what I'm using now. I believe it's the / for the emailing, but I do have other CRMs that are I can purchase that can basically keep me around the same price range as that to do the trickle effect, so I don't have to worry about going back and plugging in those emails every day. And then it also allows them to unsubscribe without me having to go back and filter through a CSV file. Is anybody doing that, or is that a recommendation, or I don't know? What's your guidance on that?
Chris, did you hear that? Isn't Streak taking care of that?
I'm sorry, I'm on another call. Wait, hold on a second.
That's all right. We have Streak.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
We have Streak. We have
I'll
Mix
call you back,
Max.
All right, say the question one more time.
So I use Streak right now, and it doesn't necessarily. I mean, you can put in there. It's not a drip campaign. I mean, you can put.
Streak does not do any automated emails. That's why they tell you. We talked about doing mix match or GMass.
GMass, yeah.
You need another program that's going to do the full automation. You have to manually do the emails via Streak. But what Streak does allow you to do is create folders or boxes, as they call it, where you can tag your customer in there, create tasks for yourself, keep notes and things of that nature. But if you're looking for the automation of your email, that's a separate program that you're going to need.
Yeah. Do you have one you recommend?
There's 3 that we talk about in the training. So
okay.
You can pick any of the 3.
I'll go back and find it. Yeah. Thank you.
It's right in the beginning. It's like we talk about GMass, we talk about Mix Match. I think are the 2 that we speak about the most.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Absolutely. I've been thinking, and this, it goes a bit into our leadership call. Every Monday we have a leadership call before we hop on the coaching call, and we just discuss what our plan is for the week, whatever it is, right? And one of the things that I've always known, but never, it really hasn't come to the top of mind until right now, and just thinking about, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Thinking about our conversations earlier, leadership team. They say that alternative finance is the wild, wild west, right? And we're all gunslingers, as it were, right? But what I forgot about was what our weapon is, right? The gun sitting on our hip. And for any loan broker, that's your calculator. You have got to have your calculator in front of you when you talk to a client. You've got to be asking about the numbers and then punching them in on the fly. Miguel, David, you know what I'm talking about. We just did that last week, right? We've got to be able to have that calculator in front of us and quickly ask for the numbers. Punch in our calculation of the calculator and it spits out affordability. It lets us know whether or not there's a deal on the table. And that's what we're going to do next week, Monday. We're going to go over exactly that and show you what that looks like. Now, There is, I believe there's the offer presentation, the advanced training for business funding. I'm going to look to implement that into the basic training so that you guys can see some of these standard calculations. But it's very important when talking to a client because it helps you understand the math behind what's required in order to give somebody a loan, right? And if you can catch that early on, you know whether or not there's a deal on the table. So this, I think, is something that we could do a better job of providing to you in the training at the basic level. This is something that we really should be holding you accountable to. And it's a very important tool and weapon in your arsenal. You'd be surprised what you can do to a calculator. I mean, I just to elaborate a little bit further, I mean, my old job, I worked for a direct lender, and my boss would walk around the room, and there'd be a bunch of people sitting there, and he'd say, pitch me. You'd have like 3 to 5 seconds before he humiliated you and moved on to the next one. And that's what it was. And you had to be able to keep his interest, be able to, he'd throw numbers at you. You had to be able to work those numbers in your calculator and spit out something that sounded better than what he had already. Also, only be able to get little bits of information and work out what his loan was based on those little bits of information. And if you're working your formulas and your calculation, you should easily be able to arrive at those numbers. And that's how you impress a client. You know, if you're talking to the client on the phone and they tell you, and we're talking about a cash advance, and they tell you their daily payment or their weekly payment, and you should be able to work out based on, okay, one other question, what was your loan amount, or what was your term, or what was your factor, and be able to work out the math right there and figure out exactly what they got. You know, okay, you got 50 grand and your daily payment was X. Okay, so you punch your calculator, bang, bang, bang. Okay, so you got a 6-month term, your payback was this. And they're like, how in the hell did you just figure that out? You just worked your formula. And so then you know this client just got 50 grand at a 140, which is 40% over 6 months. So all I need to do to win this person's affections here is to simply say, hey, if you had gone with me, I would have given you 12 months. Your daily payment was, and don't hold me to the numbers here, I'm just going off the top of my head, but your daily payment was $200 a day. If you go with me, it would have been $100 a day. And you can confidently say that because all you're doing is extending their term. You're doubling their term. By doubling their term, their payment is cut in half. Then you can throw an early discount, early payoff discount in there, where they can wipe out the remaining interest if they pay off early, right? Or we can carry it over into the next loan or whatever. There's these little bells and whistles. You can do that with your calculator. Same thing with real estate investment, right? Hey, I want $500,000, but I only have 20 grand in the bank. Well, we know they need between roughly what? Correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, but around 25, 30%, right? They need to have in skin in the game to be able to put down. Am I correct, Christopher?
Yeah, most on a purchase you're looking at least 25% down on most deals. I mean, I was talking with someone today. I mean, you tell me how much money you have, and it's usually about a 4-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
So, someone tells me they got 25,000. You can handle $100,000 worth of financing. You know, it's just like there are certain kind of base formulas that just are always going to be there. I mean, the same reason why I say, you tell me your project is worth $100,000. Oh, you need about 30 grand. And you're like, well, it's only $100,000 loan, but it's like, hey, your down payment is 15%. Your closing cost is another 5%.
Yep.
You have to have 10% of the rehab budget. You got to have 6 to 12 months worth of the mortgage payments in the bank. And so when you add that up and combine how much money they need to show on hand, not necessarily come to the closing table. Those are two different things. But how much money they need to show, the numbers pretty much are absolute. So when you see these, I want to do a buy and hold, and you see that they don't have 25 or 30% of that purchase price, because if you notice the same theme comes through. 70% of the ARV or 70% of the loan to value or 75% of the loan to value. So if the bank's only coming up with 1/3, you have to come up with 1/4. So if they're coming up with 3/4, you got to come up with the quarter. And if you don't have the quarter plus additional capital behind you, the deal's not going anywhere. And so you could end that call right there, because there's no need to say, well, what about this? The math is you got to come to the table with the prerequisite before you can get to the next stage.
Indeed. And it's a great way for you to disqualify these people that you spin your wheels on that you think are great clients because they said millions of dollars, right? Because they said hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you think, oh, well, I got to talk to this person. This is super important. No, you can quickly call them on their BS and figure out whether or not they're real, if it's worth your time, you know? So this is going to be a great topic for next week's coaching call. So you can all look forward to that. I'll post a recording of this week's call on the Facebook group. This is going to wrap up the call for the week. Everybody have a great week here. Think of the things we said. Do your follow-ups. If you have any other questions on today's call, please go ahead and just comment in the recorded call when I post it later today, and we'll make sure to get them answered. Thank you, everybody. You have a great week, and Christopher, some great points there at the end as well.
No problem. Yes, if I would, it's a new month, so let's get going.
Indeed. Sorry, didn't realize the time, everybody. All right, we'll catch up soon.
Make
See
it a
you
great
guys.
day.
Thanks, guys.